What's good, everybody? Hope you guys are doing great. Hope you guys are preparing physically, mentally, and spiritually for the dark times that are ahead of us. And I hope you guys can rest God and stand strong. Got some more important information to share with you guys today. And before I get into what I wanted to talk about today, I just wanted to bring up something that was actually said by this guy named Mark Twain. And as you guys can see, I'm gonna be having this as my title too, because I feel like it would make for a good title. But I remember when Mark Twain said that it's easier to fool people than to convince them that they've been fooled. And I wanted to talk about this whole thing because, that statement, which is one heck of a true statement, but that statement definitely really reminds me of everything that's happened over the past year, and it really reminds me of just how easily manipulated and controlled society can just be just off of just off of these people who are running things, just making up things like that, right? They can tell you that there's this boogeyman that's out to get you, right? And everybody would believe it. Everybody would become scared, and everybody would blindly follow orders and do everything that they're told by these so-called experts, right? And everything that's happened over the past year, I think we can all agree, folks, especially the people who can see through all these deceptions that they're pulling out and all these lies and the psyops, right? Psyops, which are intended to deceive as well. But especially for the people who can see through all of that, right? I'm sure we can all agree that especially with everything that's happened over the past year, humanity has definitely been played like a fiddle. And I'm sure these people who are running things have been having, one heck of a good laugh with what they've done over the past year and whatnot. And I'm sure they'll be laughing even harder with what they plan on pulling off in the near future, which will be even worse because 2020 was just a little warm-up phase for them to see what they'd be able to do and how easily they'd be able to implement their agendas and how easily they'd be able to get humanity to go along with these things, right? And it was a breeze, and I'll never forget, too, all last year when everybody was on social media crying and complaining, telling everybody to stay home and telling everybody to wear a mask and telling everybody to stop going outside and like that's good for them or something, right? It just really goes to show you how easily controlled humanity can be. And just imagine what it's going to look like in the future, it's just going to be even worse. People are going to end up losing their minds even more because, when they shut that power off, you know exactly what's going to take place, folks. I've discussed this, but I'm not going to get into that topic in this video because that's not the topic of today's video. But another thing too, right? I was reading this article off of themostimportantnews.com today from Michael Snyder, very good website. But guess what they're talking about now, folks? Guess what they're saying now? They're talking about not only this, but another thing too. But they're talking about this so-called Delta variant. And I believe, I forgot this other guy. I forgot his name, but I believe his name was Scott Gottlieb, if I'm not mistaken, if that's how you even say it. I believe that's what his name was. I'll have to pull up the article again after this video. But I'll probably put the link to the article in the description or in the comment section. But I believe he's now warning that that this whole thing with the Delta variant could spark an epidemic in the fall. And I've said this before too, but I've made it very clear that this whole thing that we've been going through and that this whole scam is very far from over, because if you think that these people are just going to let you have your freedoms all over again, and if you think that these people are just going to, out of the blue, just stop being tyrannical, and if you think that these people are not going to attempt more power grabs, then you have another thing coming, because that's not how these people operate. These people have an entire agenda. I'm not going to get too deep into the details. You guys already know this anyways. But these people have an entire agenda that's based off of having you under their control. And if you think that they're just going to sit here and give that up and be like, oh, let's just let them have their freedoms back and let everything go back to normal and let everything get better. If you think that, these people are just going to let it go like that, you've got another thing coming, because right now, they're still fooling people into thinking that things are going back to normal and that things are getting better, when in reality, they're just, preparing a bigger crisis. If you're paying attention, you should already know that. But I also seen this video today as well from Southwest Prepper Group, another good channel on YouTube. He posted a video, and these people, right? They were actually at a grocery store. It was at Walmart. I remembered. And they just showed it was the meat shelf, the shelf for the meats. It was just completely empty. It was just absolutely empty, absolutely no meats at all. And like we've discussed before, the shortages are also another thing that are getting worse. But like I said, folks, they're just setting the stages for a bigger crisis. And, it amazes me how people still have that ignorant type of mindset where they think that things are going back to normal. There's nothing wrong with hoping for the best, but, if you're going to sit here and be like, oh, it's no big deal as long as something bad happens. Like if you're one of those people who, have that strong normalcy bias and you just don't care to prepare until it's too late or until something bad happens, then, you're going to be in for one heck of a rude awakening. And eventually you'll realize that you made a horrible mistake. And I've said this before too, but those people, with that strong normalcy bias, and those people who think that these people are just gonna let things get better, and that these people are just gonna let everything go back to normal. These are gonna be the people who end up suffering when all this SHTF stuff goes down, because we know at the end of the day that wars and famines and more pestilences are gonna be coming, right? We know that all of these things are happening. And also in the UK, I believe Boris Johnson is extending the lockdown restrictions until July, which is most likely going to get extended again. But they said that they were supposed to have their reopening day, right, on June 21st. And I believe, apparently, from what I can see, I believe they just extended it today. And I believe that's when they announced it today, that they were going to extend it, if I'm not mistaken. But understand that, folks, these people are not going to let your life go back to normal. They're just preparing a bigger crisis right now. Look what Klaus Schwab is on a video hinting strongly at. Look at what these people are talking about on their own websites. And whenever, that day comes where they decide that it's necessary for them to flip the switch, and whenever they decide that it's the perfect time for them to pull the plug, right? You're going to start seeing things, become very ugly very quickly. And it's no coincidence that we've got a whole nother Purge movie that's about to come out next month, if it doesn't get delayed. And it's totally a coincidence that it's called the Forever Purge, right? As in a never-ending, pretty much chaotic scenario. But if you've watched that whole franchise, right, you know pretty much what it's about. They're just trying to get you folks to accept these types of realities that are going to be coming in the near future anyways. But it's so interesting, the timing of all of this. It seems like there's a lot of stuff happening in July, with the Cyber Polygon event. You've got, I believe Biden wants 70% of Americans to be vaxxed by, I believe, July 4th, somewhere in July. And you have the whole Forever Purge movie that's supposed to come out on July 2nd. So it's looking like there's going to be a lot of things that happen in July. I'm not saying that they're going to, that it's guaranteed to, that they're going to end up pulling off something big on July. I mean, pretty much they have the Cyber Polygon thing on July. It could be a decoy date. It's very possible. But if it's not a decoy date, then that's definitely something big that they're going to be doing in July. The whole Cyber Polygon event, which is which they're supposed to do on July 9th, the next supply chain attack exercise, right? We've discussed this already, but understand that and keep that in mind, folks, that that things are never going back to normal ever again. And like Mark Twain said, it is easier to fool people than to convince them that they've been fooled. With everything that's happened over the past year, that statement, it just really shows you how true that statement really, really is. And that whole statement reminds me of how, just everything that's happened over the past year and how easily manipulated and fooled everybody everybody has gotten, and how everybody has became, by the people who are running things. Because all they have to tell you, folks, is that there's this boogeyman in the air, and everybody, boom, is just instantly going to become afraid. Nobody's going to even bother to critically think about the situation, and they're just going to do everything that they're told blindly without even thinking about it. So continue to prepare yourself as much as possible. I still do believe that we are going to see another wave of lockdowns. It's very possible they could just be like, you know what, let's just shut down the whole world again and just use the excuse of this thing. And let's just shut the power off after we do that. It's very possible. We don't know the exact timing of all of these things that they're going to do. Some of the things they'll tell you that they'll do on a certain day, like Cyber Polygon, right? And some of the things, they won't tell you when they're going to do it, but they could do it at any time. Remember, they could flip the switch at any time. It's a matter of when. It's not a matter of if, but a matter of when they're going to do it. So prepare yourself as much as possible. A bigger crisis is in the making. This whole scam that we've been going through, folks, is far from over. Don't let them fool you into thinking that this whole thing is over with, because it's not. And if you think for a second that these people are just going to sit here and be like, you know what, let's just give them their freedoms back, and let's just not even try to implement our agendas anymore. Let's just, let everything be all, fun and games for humanity. Nah. If you think that it's going to be like that, you've got a whole nother thing coming. And it's just like with those normalcy biased people, who think that everything's just going to be sweet forever. I remember I recently had somebody who told me, and I mentioned this in a previous video, but I feel like bringing it up again, because once again, it really goes to show you how just dumbed down and delusional a lot of people really are nowadays. But I had somebody that said, oh, we'll always have clean water, and we'll always have power. And that reminded me of the whole Texas situation, right? Within like less than 2 weeks, so many people were suffering, without power, and, they were, extremely cold and whatnot. And they couldn't, a lot of people were losing their lives in that situation because they weren't prepared, and, they didn't have the power on, because, everything that happened over there. Literally, Texas had this major Arctic blast, extremely cold air, and that's not normal for Texas to have. But they had their power cut off for 2 weeks, and in less than 2 weeks, things got so bad. Just imagine what it would look like in a long-term grid down scenario. You would see it way worse than that.